This is a weapon. It doesn't look like one. It looks like breakfast, but it was engineered by a religious fanatic for one specific, bizarre purpose: to stop you from masturbating. This innocent-looking box of cornflakes was the original anti-masturbation food. It was invented by a man obsessed with the solitary vice, which he blamed for everything from acne to insanity. His cure? A diet so bland, so tasteless, it was designed to kill all sexual desire. This is the story of how that bizarre, passion-killing crusade accidentally created a billion-dollar breakfast empire and started a bitter feud that changed food forever. Our story begins in a place that sounds like a Victorian horror novel, the Battle Creek Sanitarium. This wasn't a spa. It was a grand, sprawling medical temple, part religious cult, part high society prison. A brilliant surgeon, a best-selling health guru, and a devout Seventh-day Adventist who believed the human body was a cesspool of sin. To his wealthy, famous patrons, presidents, industrialists, movie stars, he was a prophet of purity. To everyone else, he was a fanatic, a tyrant obsessed with two things: your bowels and your carnal desires. He believed the modern world was a toxic swamp, and his son was the only ark. Patients were subjected to biologic living. This meant endless hydrotherapy being blasted with frigid water jets, mandatory exercise, and bizarre electrical stimulation. But his true obsession was the colon. Dr. John Harvey Kellogg was the king of the enema. He prescribed them constantly, sometimes with yogurt, believing he was flushing out spiritual and physical decay. He even invented a machine to do it, a gruesome contraption that could pump 15 gallons of water through a patient's intestines in 1 minute. But of all the sins, Kellogg's greatest enemy, his white whale, was masturbation. He called it the solitary vice, self-abuse, and the secret sin. He wasn't just against it. He believed it was the root cause of everything. In his books, he blamed it for acne, bad posture, epilepsy, insanity, heart disease, and moral decay. His 800-page medical tome, Plain Facts for Old and Young, was a terrifying catalog of these supposed horrors, a bestseller that haunted Victorian bedrooms. And his cure. His grand solution was the diet. He believed flavorful, spicy, or sweet foods inflamed the animal passions. Meat was a carnal poison. Mustard, vinegar, and spices were tools of the devil, leading directly to impure thoughts and that act. His answer was a diet so punishingly bland, so utterly devoid of pleasure, it would starve the sin right out of you. It was culinary celibacy, food as a punishment for thoughts you hadn't even had yet. And people paid for this. The rich and famous Henry Ford, Amelia Earhart, Thomas Edison flocked to Battle Creek to be tortured into health. They ate jawbreaker biscuits and tasteless nut pastes, but this created a problem. The food was so bad, it was literally indigestible. Kellogg needed a new, bland, digestible gruel for his patients. Enter his younger brother, Will Keith Kellogg. WK was not a doctor. He was the sanitarium's perpetually exhausted, underpaid, and bullied business manager. He was the glorified assistant, living entirely in his famous brother's shadow. In 1894, the two brothers were experimenting with boiled wheat. They were called away maybe to administer a high-priority yogurt enema to a millionaire and left a batch of the cooked mush sitting out for days. When they returned, it was a solid, stale brick. A normal person would have thrown it out, but Dr. Kellogg, ever frugal, insisted they run it through the rollers. Instead of a flat dough, the stale wheat shattered into thin, crispy flakes. They baked them, they served them, and the patients actually liked them. Or at least, they hated them less than everything else. Dr. Kellogg was thrilled. He'd invented the perfect anti-sin food. He called it granose flakes. But his brother Will, Will saw something else. He didn't see a sermon, he saw a product. He saw a way out from under his tyrannical brother's thumb. This was the moment the feud began. John Harvey, the zealot, saw the flakes as a sacred tool for biologic living. Will, the businessman, saw a revolutionary, ready to eat breakfast for a busy America. But Will had an even more blasphemous idea. He wanted to add sugar. To Dr. Kellogg, this was not just a recipe change, it was heresy. It was coating the weapon of God with the poison of the devil. Sugar was the cause of sin, not the cure. The brothers fought bitterly. John preached purity. Will dreamed of profit. Finally, Will had enough. In 1906, he broke away, mortgaged his house, secured the rights to the flaking process, especially for corn, and founded his own company, the Battle Creek Toasted Corn Flake Company. His very first defiant act of rebellion? He added the sugar. John Harvey was apoplectic. His brother was now, in his eyes, a purveyor of poison, a merchant of masturbation. And here, W.K. Kellogg proved he wasn't just a businessman, he was a marketing genius. He was selling a product no one knew they needed, in an era before brands existed. He signed every single box with his own flowing signature, W.K. Kellogg, a personal guarantee of quality. He plastered the country with billboards. His slogan, "The sweetheart of the corn," was brilliant. It wasn't healthy or pure, it was romantic. It was desirable. And then he launched one of the most audacious campaigns in history. Wink at your grocer and get a free box of cornflakes. Think about how insane that was. It was interactive. It was cheeky. It was a direct, playful challenge to the consumer, turning a mundane trip to the store into a game. He pioneered free samples, collectible prizes in the box, and ads aimed directly at children. W.K. Kellogg wasn't selling food. He was selling fun. He was selling convenience. He was selling the exact opposite of his brother's joyless, sexless, culinary prison. And what of Dr. John Harvey? He stayed at his sanitarium, doubling down on his crusade. He fumed as his brother's sugary empire conquered the world, viewing it as a complete betrayal. He wrote more bizarre books, recommending increasingly extreme cures for the solitary vice, from applying carbolic acid to the clitoris to, yes, surgical solutions he claimed were not at all painful. The brothers spent the rest of their lives suing each other. They fought over the Kellogg name, over patents, over every scrap of their shared history. John called Will a greedy, ungrateful thief. Will called John a pompous, credit-stealing tyrant. They never spoke again. John Harvey Kellogg died in 1943, a world-famous but increasingly irrelevant figure, still preaching his gospel of purity. Will Keith Kellogg died in 1951, a multi-billionaire who had, ironically, given most of his fortune away to charity. The sanitarium burned down and faded into obscurity. The breakfast empire became immortal. So, the next time you pour a bowl of cereal, remember this. That box is a monument to one of the greatest ironies in history, a weapon of spiritual warfare that became a global comfort food, a food designed to kill desire, that became one of the world's most successful brands by selling it. Dr. Kellogg's crusade against human passion failed spectacularly. His brother, W.K., proved that you can't market chastity, but you can, absolutely, sell sugar. In the end, the bland, sexless flake got sweetened, frosted, and coated in chocolate. And in that, you have the entire, bizarre, crunchy history of human nature. The zealot who tried to control it, and the marketer who, with a wink, gave it exactly what it wanted.